What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN's live stream of Sleeping Dogs. I'm Damon Hatfield. We're joined today by Jeff O'Connell, producer on the game. Thank you for joining us, Jeff.
My pleasure. Thanks for
Also,
having me.
Destin Legary is back here.
Hey, how's it going?
You guys know him. You know what he's all about. We're going to be playing Sleeping Dogs for the next 2 hours, showing you a lot about the game. We'll answer your questions. Anything you want to know about the game, just tweet us at IGN, and we'll answer them live right here before you. So let's go ahead and jump right into the game. We're going to start at the beginning here, is that right?
Yes, this is Welcome to Hong Kong, our first mission.
So yeah, sort of like set it up for us. This is an open world
Game set in Hong Kong. You play Wei Shen, who is going undercover with the Triads in Hong Kong. Triads are been around for like 400 or 500 years. One of the world's oldest criminal organizations, and Wei takes advantage of childhood friends, guys he grew up with, who are now part of the Triads, to go undercover with them. So it's a conflict for him from the beginning. And yeah, we're seeing here this is the very start of the game, the very first mission. And this is on the waterfront of Hong Kong. And this is all, well, I'll tell a little bit. This is all set up. So at this point, this is how Wei actually gets in with the Triads.
So Wei's already been working undercover at this point.
At this point, the sort of story of the game is Wei's come back to Hong Kong from San Francisco. His mom took he and his sister away from Hong Kong when he was like 11 or 12 years old, because he was basically being sucked into the Triads even at that point. So he becomes a cop in San Francisco, and his mom dies, his sister dies. He comes back from San Francisco to Hong Kong and becomes part of their police force. And this is his first sort of undercover mission.
Okay.
So you can see this is a drug deal happening here. A security guard with bad timing happens upon these guys. And you can see the cleaver held behind the back here. Guns are not that common in the real Hong Kong. We add them to the game as you progress through, but we start with the real Triad weapons: cleavers, kitchen knives, pipes, that kind of stuff.
Is that because of stricter gun laws?
Very, very strict gun laws, and the fact that there were more guns, but in like the late 70s and the early 80s, Triad violence was just spilling out onto the streets of Hong Kong for real. Bombs were going off, there was people being killed, and the city was really dangerous. So cops cracked down, and now they have sort of a live and let live arrangement with the Triads, where the Triads don't bother people and police don't bother the Triads.
So you set that up to kind of establish the realism
Exactly.
of the world.
Yeah.
Later on, it's like you do get access to guns and everything.
You sure do, yeah. But we wanted to kind of bring them in gradually, also just because we've based the core of the action mechanics around the melee, so we want to give people a time to learn how to use that system. Another system you're seeing here is the sort of the free running system. You don't just hold down the stick here, it's actually a timed button press. So as Johnny, who's driving, is navigating away through this chase, trying to keep up with this guy Nazu, who he's doing a deal with, as he gets close to each item, vault item or climb item, he taps the button correctly and Wei will execute a nice smooth move. If he doesn't, he'll slam into the object.
And if you don't do it as well as, like, if your timing is a little bit off, it affects your rating at the end, correct?
It does, exactly. So we're not scoring you in this mission since it's your first mission, but all the other missions we're scoring you. So if Wei actually executes these moves correctly, he'll build his face meter, and that gives him a bunch of bonuses, damage increase, and actually even intimidates enemies. So you can see here Naz is busted. Wei's decided to keep running here. But again, this is all part of really a setup operation.
I'm seeing the subtitles are all in English. How much of the game is English? How much is Cantonese?
There are characters, including Mrs. Chu, the matriarch of this first crime family who Wei goes undercover with, who speaks entirely in Cantonese. But there's a lot of Cantonese in the game. Anybody who is supposed to speak Cantonese or have a Cantonese accent in the game actually does.
One thing you guys did that I actually really admired, I've played through this game, you actually have Cantonese phrases inserted throughout the English dialogue. So every once in a while, people will say stuff in Cantonese, and it really does a lot to kind of immerse you in this world that's taking place in Hong Kong, and it reminds you you're in Hong Kong throughout this whole game.
I'm glad you like that. You know, we debated internally whether to actually subtitle those Cantonese words as the default. And we were lucky enough to work with actors like Edison Chen, like James Hong, Robin Shu, all Hong Kong natives who could just seamlessly add Cantonese into their character speech. We just give them the script in English and they just go, okay,
that's great.
Got it. As they recorded it, they just added Cantonese. So there's some even great stuff that didn't get used in the game.
Right. And here you're meeting your first buddy, a major character in the story.
Exactly. So this is Jackie, played by Edison Chen, who was Wei's sort of childhood best buddy. So this whole thing that you just saw is a setup to get Wei to meet Jackie in prison. And this conversation they're having here is Wei saying, hey, listen, man, I'm back in town. Been ages since we've seen each other. You know, you got any work? And Jackie says, yeah, you know, I'm working for Winston, who now is a triad boss, really runs North Point, one of the 4 districts in the game. And this is sort of Wei saying, well, listen, you think maybe you could hook me up with Winston? Maybe I could get some jobs going on? So this is the beginning of Wei going undercover.
Yeah. And his friend is actually a fairly low level in the hierarchy of everything.
Yes.
And, well, I won't spoil anything. I won't talk about him too much. But he starts low level, and you kind of go off on your own, separate from him.
Exactly, exactly. So you start sort of doing jobs with Jackie, but Jackie's not that competent, which is kind of, as things progress, Wei actually becomes a boss of his own. And but then, you know, Jackie comes back in, and it's a complex relationship that these guys have. Wei's sort of like the big brother, looks after Jackie, but then Jackie even becomes a bit of a liability.
So what's happening right here? He's still pitching him.
He's still pitching him, and you're learning more here about sort of the characters who you're about to meet. Dog Eyes is a character who you meet in the first few missions. They're talking about Dog Eyes now. He was a drug dealer even when they were kids, and he's talking about Wei was the first guy to actually stab Dog Eyes, stabbed them with a pen when they were kids. So yeah, this is Wei saying, hey man, listen, when I get out, do you mind if I give you a call? Maybe you can hook me up. He says, absolutely. So you're seeing our credits list here, all kinds of actors you worked with. We're really fortunate. You're about to meet Superintendent Pendrew, played by Tom Wilkinson, Oscar-nominated actor. We're really fortunate to work with him, as well as Raymond, another character. Raymond is played by Byron Mann, who has a big role in RZA's upcoming movie, The Man with the Iron Fist.
That movie looks awesome.
It does look awesome. Lucy Liu also is in that movie, and she plays Vivienne in the game.
Cool.
So we're just really
got a lot of big names.
We have a lot of big names, Hollywood names and Hong Kong names. So in this scene, they turn off the security camera. They basically say, "Okay, Wei, were you successful? Did you make contact with Jackie? Are you in?" And he says, "Yes, done deal." And the relationship that we wanted to sort of set up here was that Pendrew is a bit like the Martin Sheen character in The Departed. Raymond is a bit of the Mark Wahlberg character, with somewhat less of a foul mouth than Mark Wahlberg's character has, but he has that antagonistic relationship with Wei. These guys, right from this scene on, just do not get along.
Not in Hong Kong.
So the Triad is sort of Hong Kong's Yakuza?
Yes, exactly. The Triad started way back, I think, in like the 1600s or even 1550 or something, as an organization that was sort of supposed to protect the common people. And over the centuries, they became sort of a more criminal-oriented organization. But the membership now in Hong Kong, different sources will tell you different things. Some say it's in the tens of thousands, but most people will say, listen, there's hundreds of thousands of members of the Triad in Hong Kong alone, which means that they outnumber the police by, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, depending on who you talk to. So I think that's where that live and let live relationship comes in with the police in Hong Kong. So it's very, very much a part of Hong Kong life. And Hong Kong is the biggest port in the world. You can imagine the amount of drugs and weapons and everything that actually move through there.
So what research did you do when you were prepping for the game, writing the story?
A couple of different types of research. When we started, Mike Scoop, our design director at UFG, brought in a bunch of videos. And one of the first ones he said, not a Hong Kong film, but a Tony Jaa film, The Protector. And if anybody's Googles Tony Jaa staircase fight, the scene from The Protector where Tony Jaa's character, almost from a third-person camera, fights his way up in a single take up this circular stairwell, and Mike said, that's what I want the combat to be. So that was sort of one of the biggest influences for us, which that scene harkens back to Jackie Chan and Jet Li and Donnie Yen and all of their sort of fight films. But, the other thing we did, not just watching movies, we went to Hong Kong. We went as a production team, design team, the art directors went, the audio directors went, our writer. We spent several months in Hong Kong in cumulative time. We talked to members of the police force. We talked guys who were very, very highly ranked in the OCTB, the Organized Crime and Triad Bureau in Hong Kong, which anybody who's familiar with Hong Kong cinema knows that these are the guys who run all the undercover cops in Hong Kong. We talked to a writer. I did not spend time with these guys, but our writer spent time with guys who were either past members of the Triad or current members of the Triad. that was a long process of negotiation between our writer and them. They didn't just meet all of us and take us out for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
It was our writer working with them over 2 or 3 days and really learning what they're all about. And much like The Sopranos or the characters in The Wire, these guys primarily are business people, right? They are trying to make money. And they're in Hong Kong, they're part of regular everyday life. They run the bus racket, they skim off the top of that. All different kinds of things they try to take a cut of.
Now, speaking of combat, we're about to actually see our first glimpse or tutorial of the combat system here.
Exactly. So we went through our movement tutorial. This is the first combat tutorial. So Jackie's sort of taken way to meet Winston, this triad boss, and on the way stops to talk to this girl, Jumei. There she is. And this is your first opportunity for combat, basically saving Jackie's butt here.
Now, one thing I noticed is you guys managed to implement a combat system semi-similar to the Batman combat system that we saw started in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, interestingly, Mike Scupa, I mentioned him earlier, design director. Mike was the design lead on Bully with Rockstar. So if anybody who remembers Bully will actually go, oh yeah, that combat actually feels kind of Bully-like. So we really took it from there. The thing that we were benefited from, especially over the last 18 months, was working with guys at Square Enix who had worked on Arkham Asylum. And they really helped us polish that system. The big difference between Arkham Asylum, I mean, you have the strikes, of course, which are completely upgradable through the game, and the counters, but you also can use the environment in Sleeping Dogs.
Let's see some of those. Those are
so
great.
this is maybe not the best place to showcase that environmental combat, although Johnny here can run guys under the wall, he can slam guys into the tables, all that sorts of stuff, throw them, tackle them. But we've got combat props in the game. Combat props which are not featured in this tutorial, except at the very, very end.
Could we jump forward to one of the other fighting missions that
Totally.
has a lot of contextual fighting while we're speaking about that?
Do you want to go to Civil Discord, Johnny, or? Yeah, okay.
Maybe we should let the viewers in on the bet that's going on here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a bet going on that the guy playing Johnny over there is going to die once. At least once.
He's claiming he's
once.
not going to, though. And so over the live stream, so over the next 2 hours, he doesn't think he's going to die. So. I'm actually rooting for Johnny. I think he's. I think he's.
He has been very close this week. I will say the closest that Johnny has been to dying was actually this mission.
Oh, really?
So
We're
yeah,
loading right now,
we're
or?
gonna no pressure, Johnny.
I get max upgrades.
You can get max upgrades, but
Oh,
not,
now we're talking about upgrades. I don't know. He needs his.
well, he'll upgrade simply so he
invincibility
can.
cheat code.
Yeah,
of
no-
God mode.
No.
Did he hit A?
No,
Okay.
didn't hit A. So we're on our way to this mission that takes place later in the game, called Civil Discord.
Whoa, that's uncalled for. You're
So
just
you
standing
just-
there.
She's just having a
Hanging
conversation with her friend, Johnny. But there you go, part of the sandbox nature of the game. If that's how you want to play the game, go for it. So yeah, Civil Discord. You see here, Johnny's got his garage. I think updated
Stocked
as
up.
well, stocked up. All the cars, all the bikes available in the game are in his garage.
And to get this in the game, you actually have to purchase all these vehicles.
There's
correct?
a couple that are given as mission rewards. The rest are all purchasable items, and as you upgrade your face or respect, the cost of these vehicles kind of comes down. People are willing to give you a deal. You can see here, you've got a customization feature where some of these vehicles actually have different decal sets or paint jobs. A lot of guys at UFG worked on Need for Speed, so the cars handle much more arcadey than simmy. Really easy to pick up and play, and you can do certain things in the cars maybe you wouldn't be able to do in other urban open world games, like you can action hijack. The shooting from vehicles is really, really easy. We also have a lot of rail shooter missions.
So Dustin, you're very familiar with the game Sleeping Dogs. You were telling us earlier you've played it probably 25 hours already because
Yeah.
you've been working on the guide stuff for IGN, right?
Yeah, guide stuff and some editorial content we have planned also. But yeah, I finished off the game. I still don't have the collectibles. Like, I only did one set of collectibles, the cameras, and I'm 25 hours in already. So it's definitely got a lot of content for players to enjoy while they play.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on the sandbox side of the game, even though the mechanics are deep and the missions are almost linear. Feel like a linear game, a third-person action game, very, very highly detailed. We didn't forget about that sandbox side of the game. So here you go, your combat props, crushed by an engine block.
I don't think Batman would do that.
No, Way very quickly gets rid of Bruce Wayne's reluctance to kill. You know, there's a mission early on where Conroy, one of the guys in the gang, says, "Listen, unless you can kill people, how are we sure you're not a cop?"
Yeah.
Right. So Wei says, "All right, okay, do what you got to do." So there you go. It's a melee weapon there. Use and abuse the weapon. It breaks. All the weapons break. There's one weapon that Wei gets at the end of the game, which is pretty awesome, that doesn't break. But you see different enemy classes here. The guy who he's kicking the crap out of right here.
Yeah, if you grapple him.
He's a grappler. So if you, like you said, so if you try to grapple him, he will pick you up and throw you down.
Then on the HUD, our health is on the far left here.
That's right. So you can see there, we've got a blue bar and a little red bar showing the blue bars
there you
because
go.
we've got the fan. We've got full health at this point. Your health is at 200%. Start the game with 100%. You collect shrines to actually increase your health through the game.
So actually, when I played through the main story, I never got a single health shrine.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so I was able to complete the game without getting any of the collectibles like Johnny's using right now that give you a health stat boost.
So you're just messing with his confidence. Yeah, so you can see here you've activated the meter on the right-hand side. You activate that face combat meter by fighting stylishly, using the combat props if you're in a chase by not running into things. If you're in a shooting mission, by using the slow-mo. John's using the dim mock move there, the death touch move, so he's got full upgrades at this point. Yes, and then another engine block. So yeah,
and those are some of the more timid moments. There's some very violent ones.
Do you want to try to use the
Contextual.
table saw in here, Johnny? I think there's one over by the lifts, the garage.
Yeah, that one in particular, I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. For an undercover cop, they let him get away with a lot of murders.
Well, you know, he's part of the triad. Like I said, these guys do not mess around, and you know, it's.
Oh, there is one.
There it is, the famous table saw. So hopefully, Johnny doesn't actually take this guy out. Picking enemies up off the ground. Here we go. Okay, yes. Down on the saw.
It's okay, I'm a cop.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
You do what you have to do.
So we know he's good at combat. We got to get him some other way to fail a mission or not.
So this shooting segment that Johnny's about to go into is pretty intense. What's happening here is they're attacking sort of Wei's interests around Hong Kong. This is later in the game. Wei's become a boss of his own, and the 18K, another triad, are kind of going up against Wei at this point, kind of hitting at all of the things that he owns. They were attacking a chop shop. Right now, they're going after the Golden Koi, which is a restaurant that Wei has associates at. So this ends up in sort of a heat-style gunfight right on the streets of Hong Kong. This is an interesting mission because it takes you back to sort of where you started the game. So things have kind of come full circle at this point.
So you're back where you started out, you know. You've proven to everybody that, well, at least they think you're part of the triad.
Yeah, well, at this point, I think even the gamer kind of doesn't really know where Wei's loyalties lie. He's
But you're
pretty
shoving
conflicted.
people's head in the bandsaws, I mean.
Yeah, he's
Feel
pretty
like
conflicted at this point in the game, you know.
I'm sorry, the yellow meter on the right. Can you
Yes.
fill that up? What can you do with that?
So it does a number of things. First of all, Wei's health will regen as long as that meter is on. It also gives you a damage bonus, and it also intimidates enemies. Enemies in melee will be less likely to strike and actually cower more often when that meter is on.
Okay. And then the triangles that pop up above the map, like right there.
So you guys will see red triangles representing triad score as you shoot, and you see you get a headshot there. You get points for that. Putting people into table saws also gives you points. You'll see blue badges actually count down cop points. And how? So there's two different systems. The triad points are based around fighting, shooting. The cop points, if you harm innocent, if you harm cops, if you damage public property, the cop points come down through the mission. So the best way to get a perfect score in a mission is fight amazingly well, shoot amazingly well, drive amazingly well, and don't hurt anybody or hurt anything in the open world.
Can you actually draw attention from the cops? Like, will they chase you like in other open world action
Absolutely,
games?
yeah. There's a full heat system. You know, we've got it set up so that you can ram the cop cars off the road and shoot, kill cops. But all of this really leads to a nice shot, Johnny, with taking out that enemy vehicle as it comes in. I think you hit the driver.
Yeah,
and not even giving
they're
them a chance to get out. So yeah, Johnny's making it look pretty easy here. He's really taking care of all these guys. But all of that unlocks an upgrade system, which is something new for kind of the urban open world genre.
Yeah, you actually have 3 different types. You have the triad, the cop, and the face meters. And what are some other ways that you can up those 3 different types?
Well, you've got cases in the game, which are police investigations that Wei does for one of the inspectors that he meets. She's the only actually other person other than Raymond and Penny who know that you're a cop. So he does those for her. Those are more varied types of gameplay. There's surveillance, hacking, all kinds of sort of even CSI type stuff that Wei does. You get to change your outfits in that, go wear disguises. Hey, see, Mrs. Chu is not going to take any crap from anybody either. So you also have drug busts around the world. Those things can give you cop points and melee statues, which you can find around the world. They allow you to redeem those statues at the dojo and increase your combat.
Oh, I love the shotgun in this game, by the way. It just feels so, like, not overpowered, but powerful.
Thank you.
You know, as a shotgun.
The combat shotgun, which he's using right now, the automatic shotgun, is my favorite gun, too.
Yeah.
Some of our designers, one guy, Mike Lee.
Oh, nice.
Whoa! That's nicely done, Johnny. Mike is ex of Rockstar, and a lot of our design team are ex of Rockstar. So Mike had worked on Max Payne 3, and I think he himself, Mike might get a little embarrassed I say this. Mike's a big enjoys guns, so he really made these things feel really visceral.
Now, inevitably, you're going to get the comparison to Rockstar, bringing them up, like you just did. What do you feel like going into an open world game you've done to, like, was that one of your main goals, differentiate yourself from Rockstar?
Absolutely. And there's 3 big things with Sleeping Dogs. The first is the action mechanics. I don't think that any urban open world game out there has the depth of mechanics like we do, where it actually feels like an action movie, and you feel like an action hero. A Hong Kong action hero specifically, who can mix these things up and transition from one sort of action state to another. The second is the cop story. There's all kinds of, Johnny's got a grenade launcher here.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of movies and TV shows about cops. There's really not many games, so this was another differentiating point for us. Some great shows out there, The Wire, The Shield, just kind of take pages from their books. And the third thing is the city itself. It's this is not an American city. It's identifiable because it's got Western elements, but it's Hong Kong is so unique. It's got the new and old temples beside skyscrapers. It's got the mysticism of Hong Kong and the mysticism of the triad, the blood oaths that you swear to become part of the triad, and as well as sort of the practical nature of the street fights. It's just an interesting place. So it's really those 3 things: it's the action mechanics, the cop story, and then the city itself.
Speaking of Hong Kong, this game takes place there, obviously. Can you actually drive to locations in the game and look like elsewhere on the internet at famous pictures of locations and compare them side by side?
Yeah, the game is not an exact replica of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is an island, so you do play on an island. All the neighborhoods are roughly laid out where the Hong Kong neighborhoods are. The streets are all unique to us, and that's sort of for gameplay purposes. We wanted you to be able to have races and stuff and feel how those racetracks feel unique. Hong Kong is also a bit of a labyrinth. If we made it like the real Hong Kong, I think people would probably get lost. But the other issue is, we've taken inspiration in terms of the buildings, especially in central Hong Kong. Some really iconic buildings that make up their skyline there, and you can see all of those inspirational sources in the game. But of course, we didn't want to get sued.
Yeah.
So we kind of did our own versions of those places. But anybody who's been to Hong Kong will recognize the feel of the night markets, the buildings, the feel of the neighborhoods. Even Aberdeen, which is our one of the last neighborhoods that we spent a lot of time in the game. Jumbo's restaurant in Hong Kong, we have our version of that, which actually serves as the base of one of the guys. And that whole boardwalk in Aberdeen, people will recognize that.
Now, the driving mechanics themselves, so like after playing this, I was at home and I wasn't able to play Sleeping Dogs over a weekend, so I popped in Grand Theft Auto 4, and it's night and day different-wise. Your vehicles feel heavier, and they control a lot better.
Well, thank you.
Grand Theft Auto.
You know, that was an intentional decision.
And you can do that.
And you can do that,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome in itself. That's, you know, basic button press and sort of joystick pull, and you can ram vehicles right off the road. But yeah, we wanted it to be easy to pick up and play in a very arcadey way. And actually, I think I mentioned this earlier, we've got our driving designer, Steve Ferreira, and our lead vehicle artist, Neil Ambler, are both ex of Need for Speed, as are a lot of our engineers.
I was going to say that takedown looked very Need for Speed.
Yes, so you know, these guys just, they know what they're doing, and they know what people like, and we've tried to really bring that into the driving.
We're getting lots of questions coming in from Twitter. Remember, viewers, if you have any questions, just tweet them at IGN. We've got a question from Khalib. He asks, what activities can you do when not working on the main story?
Oh, there's a ton of stuff. I think there's 300 and some odd things to do in the game, Khalib. That breaks down between the main missions, of which there are about 30 or so, the cases, which about 16 leads to close 4 different cases. There are dates with a number of girls in the game, including Emma Stone, which is the closest I'm certainly going to come to dating Emma Stone, Sleeping Dogs. There are jobs you can do for people, stealing cars. There are drug busts you can do for the police, collectibles, including shrines that increase your health, martial arts statues, as I mentioned, which upgrade your moves. There's an absolute ton of stuff to do in the game. You know, you can see that the weather has changed as well. We got a day-night cycle and a weather system. So yeah, we really wanted to give players a lot to do and an interesting world to do it in. All right, we got a short glimpse there of Lucy Liu's character, Vivienne, but Johnny has wisely skipped that cutscene so we don't give too much away.
Yeah, I know it might sound to the viewers like I'm gushing a little bit about this game, but it's rare when you work on a game for 25 hours and you still get excited about going back to play it again.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sign.
So yeah, that's definitely a good sign.
Thanks.
Speaking of your work, like your guides and walkthrough stuff, is that up now?
No, it'll be going up Tuesday. The content will start going up.
Which is when the game comes out.
Yeah, when the game comes out. So if you need any help, go to ign.com/wikis, where we'll have a very comprehensive Sleeping Dogs wiki that should be able to help you out when you need help with those side quests and stuff like that.
That's exciting. That's great. So you see Johnny's just having some open world fun here. He's drawing the attention of the cops, I think, by running people over on the sidewalk there. Johnny, maybe you can show off the action hijack here, especially if you can find an exotic here in Central to get away from the cops.
Or taxi.
Or a limo. There you go.
Bad timing. I think you're trying to make him fail the mission. Like, yeah, maybe you should jack out that really slow car so the cops might catch you.
You can perform reversals on cops and try to get away from them on foot if you want to. So you're actually here in Soho, the district of Hong Kong, which is sort of a famous expat bar area. Streets are really narrow. It's really the key nightlife area in real Hong Kong. And we've got a mission that takes place here. We take an American record producer out and show them sort of a good time at one of the bars.
So you said you went to Hong Kong and you worked on the game.
Yeah.
Do you like Hong Kong? I've never been there.
I love Hong Kong. The last time I was there, I ate something I shouldn't have. I got pretty sick. So that ended the last trip a bit badly for me. But it's an amazing city. It's, like I said earlier, it's very familiar. People do speak English there, as well as Cantonese, so that makes it easy if you don't speak Cantonese or a little bit of Mandarin to get around, because people do know what you're talking about. But it's a beautiful city as well. You know, you've got the Peak, Victoria Peak, in the center of Hong Kong, which is a gorgeous way to see sort of a 360-degree view of the island. Great food, despite my weak stomach, and just so much cool stuff. You know, the night markets are a great way to, you know, buy some electronics or watches or whatever you might be interested in. Yeah, so you can see here Johnny's doing a drug bust. These are all around the world. They vary in difficulty, but this is really sort of a clean up the streets series of things that allow you to pick up extra cop points.
Yeah.
If you do hurt cops or innocents in a mission, this is a great way to pick up extra cop points. You saw the enemy grappled that weapon away from Johnny there. This guy's got Johnny in the full Nelson.
Gee, it looks like he's having a rough time with the combat. That's too bad.
See Johnny threw the crowbar there at the enemy. Something kind of that you see Jackie Chan or Jet Li do, actually pick up something and throw it at somebody.
So actually, sorry.
Yeah, no, go
so
ahead.
because his face meter was activated, he actually regained all that life he had lost.
He
That's
did.
another perk that you can unlock.
Yes, exactly. The face meter will build your health back up while it's active. So, if you're low on health in the game, it's not just a scenario of like, okay, crap, I better run away. We want you to be able to, you know what, I got to pull myself together here. I got to fight well to get my face meter to activate and regen my health.
And what that did for me is it really gave me kind of like okay, I have one last chance to like counter this combo right and like not screw up, and because my face meter's almost there, and I have a chance to like make a comeback sort of.
Exactly. So that's something that you see in Hong Kong cinema. That guy's he's running away. But yeah, you see the hero get beat up, you see him bleed, and then you kind of see him pull himself together, and that's what we wanted to do here. So this is one of the lock boxes in the game.
This is actually a separate side thing. This is a collectible.
Separate side thing. It's not part
Yeah.
of the drug bust you just saw. This is just a lock box that happens to be in the area. There's a variety of different things in these lock boxes: clothes, weapons, might even be guns. This is a little mini game here, a safe cracking mini game that Wei uses his cell phone, which is actually also a police computer, to crack these. Now, not every lockbox has a lock on it, but this one does.
Looks like an Android mobile phone, not quite an iPhone.
I don't want to say. Yeah.
Now, you can actually hack the cameras after you defeat the area, which is the side mission that he kind of did after cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Can we show that quick?
Yeah, sure. You can see the camera up there, the glowing object. Now, Johnny just has to find the junction box by following the orange wire. And once you've found that, as you said, you hack this camera, head back to your safe house, call up the camera view, and you actually see this drug supplier come and begin to bawl the guys out who just got their asses kicked by you. You then call in the cops using the camera, and those guys get arrested. So it's a way to gain cop points and some cash, and it's sort of a takeover, clean up the streets mini game.
So right there, you're kind of trying to figure out what the camera's code is. You figure that out, and now you're able to go back to the apartment, like you said.
Exactly, and you don't have to go back to your safe house, which there are 4 all around the world, and use it right away. You can do all the drug bust and then go back to your safe house later and kind of go through one by one. You're not compelled to go back and do it immediately. So you can see Johnny here is just hitting a single button to actually switch from one item on the GPS to the next. You don't have to go back to the main map to set waypoints. You can just do it on the fly. So Johnny here is going to do a race here, Midtown. We'll maybe see how that goes.
You got to cycle through. You just kind of hit the thumbstick in, and it'll tell you like what you have available and like what's pressing.
Exactly. That was one of Mike Scupa's, our design director, early on. He said, listen, I don't like that people have to constantly go to the minimap and set waypoints, so this is our way to bypass that. All right.
What's the soundtrack like?
The soundtrack is varied. We've got everything from Cantopop and some songs that were produced specifically for the game by Nathan Wang, who's a real Hong Kong producer, to Chinese classical, to a whole suite of tracks that are probably more for Western ears. We've got a lot of tracks from Daptone, we've got hip-hop, we've got classic rock, we've got pop. And the funny thing is that all of those things, even though they're a bit more Western, aren't out of place in Hong Kong. There's a lot of Americans in Hong Kong, there's a lot of Brits, so there's a wide variety of stuff that you'll hear on the radio there, and that's what we wanted to get across in the game. We've got radio DJs, radio ads. So this is a race that you're doing now. Again, talked about the guys from Need for Speed. We've got some beautiful race tracks just built right into the roads of Hong Kong. Johnny's in first place now, but there's at least one guy relatively close behind him. This is not an easy race, this Midtown race. I failed this numerous times myself. One of the things that in our races is there's other traffic on the roads, being an open world game. So you'll often be in a fantastic place in the race and then actually run headlong into somebody. We kept that in to add a bit of extra challenge.
One of our viewers by the name of Store asks if there is multiplayer.
There isn't multiplayer store, but there is a challenge system in the game. So your friends who also have sleeping dogs, you can challenge them by a very, very simple system to to try and beat your scores in various aspects of the game. It could be longest motorcycle jump, number of headshots, any number of stats that we're tracking. And you can see the race replay unlocked on the lower right-hand corner. As you're playing, your friends can send you challenges using that system. That's where it'll appear. And it's a great way to kind of trash talk your way through the game.
Can we actually go to that clothing store and show off some the character customization?
Sure, yeah.
Do you manually send these challenges to your friends?
Yes. Yeah. And when your scores have been beaten, tracked on leaderboards and updated, you can go check those out. So there's a number of stores around the world, as Dustin was kind of alluding to. And again, I think over 300 clothing items. Different stores will sell different things. This is sort of a streetwear store. There are ones that sell suits. And you can see that Johnny's got sort of a thug, or enabled a thug bonus set there. Some of these outfits actually give you a buff. So if you know you're going into a particularly tough part of the game, you might want to have a clothing set on that actually gives away extra damage or extra damage resistance. Way's showing off, or Johnny's showing off Way's physique here.
Do you get to customize your tattoos?
You don't get to customize your tattoos. That's something we talked about, and we would love to be able to do that maybe next time, if there's a next time. So yeah, we've got a lot of outfits in the game that are inspired by classic Hong Kong cinema as well. The fight clubs in the game, if you win at these fight clubs, that's where a lot of these Hong Kong cinema outfits are inspired. We've got stuff as far back as Gordon Liu and Bruce Lee, right up to even Donnie Yen, and just a lot of cool outfits in the game. And those are, of course, all transferred to the cutscenes as well. So if you want to play the cutscene, play the game and look like Bruce Lee through the cutscenes, go for it.
What was the famous yellow outfit, which you have in the game?
Yes, the Game
That's
of Death
from Enter
outfit.
the Game of Death.
Game of Death, yeah. Where he fights Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if I'm not mistaken, in that jumpsuit.
Even does a Bruce Lee kind of move in the combat.
Yeah, the dim mock, sort of the multiple punch and then the chest strike. Yeah, it's a cool move. I mean, Bruce Lee's sort of the original Hong Kong action hero, or probably the most well-known Hong Kong action hero, maybe not the original. And you know, he has inspired not just a whole generation of Hong Kong action heroes, but just the way that Western action films have been made. So, you know, there's a statue of Bruce Lee on the waterfront in Kowloon, and it just didn't make sense to make an open world game in Hong Kong and not kind of pay homage to him. So.
Good to see you.
So yeah, you see Johnny here has found a fight club. They're kind of in one of the alleys of Hong Kong. He's just headed towards it right now. You can see on the mini-map, it's the two fists kind of bumping up against each other. All those characters will speech bubbles above their heads. Those are characters you can speak with. Some have favors for you to do, and in this case, this guy's Fight Club.
The excellent Wei Shen.
This guy's saying, like, show us what you got.
He's like, all right, Wei Shen, I've heard about you. Let's go down. Let's throw down.
Yeah.
So he's just summoning his energy here. So you start off with usually against one or two guys in the fight clubs, and then some of the fight clubs you end up fighting over 20 guys. So it's a chance to kind of just practice your moves, earn some of these cool outfits, and yeah, just generally get more into the feel of the back alleys of Hong Kong.
So this one starts slow, but by the end of it, you're fighting about 10 guys or
I
something?
think about 10 or 12 guys in this fight
Yeah.
club. Yeah, my favorite one is the one in Aberdeen Harbor that we spoke about, where you do end up fighting, I think, 20 some odd guys.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy
pretty
in the bigger
intense.
fight clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's great that you can just grab them and throw them right off the roof.
Well, that's the thing, you know, it's, you don't just do the punches and kicks in Sleeping Dogs. It's using the environment. If Johnny, playing his way, was on the street here, he could take a guy, run him over to a car, and put him in a trunk. He could take the guy and put him into the car's door, slam it on his head. He could, in some areas, put him through a shop window, put him into a phone booth. There's just a lot of stuff in the world, and run a guy into a wall head first. You know, there's just there you go. It's just that kind of creativity in Hong Kong cinema that we wanted to capture in the game. And you know, there's melee weapons as well. Some of them are kind of funny. Umbrellas, purses, fish in some areas you can use as weapons. So, yeah.
Which is actually an achievement.
Yes, yes, the fish slapping achievement. They're a little ode to Monty Python there, yeah.
Jason is asking if you can customize your safe houses.
You can customize your safe houses by buying stuff for them. There's things like stereos, and then you can listen to the radio in your safe house, movie posters, punching bags. I think you can buy a bird and a bird cage for one of your safe houses.
Sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not dozens and dozens of items, but yeah, you can definitely make each one of your safe houses feel a little bit different. And each one of your safe houses, being in a different part of town, has sort of a different feel. Way starts off in sort of a crummy rundown one, and then I think finishes in one that actually has like a hot tub or something like that.
We saw a good example of like the counter system there. He flowed from like a combo on one guy and then managed to counter and like grapple the guy, which is like, it's a huge improvement over any open world game that I've ever played before combat wise, because usually you kind of have this clunky cover system and everything.
It's almost a lot of games you kind of feel stuck in melee combat, and you're like, how quickly can I get out of this?
You get really weird punches, and sometimes you kick, but
So we really wanted to kind of turn that on its head and make it feel like in Sleeping Dogs, like this was maybe there's just tons of fun in the game, but this is sort of the anchor of all of that. Picking guys up off the ground there.
Johnny's too good at the combat system, by the way. I thought for sure if he did a few of these.
If Johnny had really known about the bet earlier in the week, he should have bet us that for every fight he won, we would have had to pay him $5.
Yeah. Every scenario we put him in that he defeats.
Yeah. Although, Johnny does have his health doubled, right? So.
Speaking of, he just unlocked a medal in the lower right-hand corner. Why don't you talk a little bit about like the in-game reward system that you have?
Well, there's a variety of different achievements in the game, depending on kind of how you want to play the game, more silly or more serious, and those are all unlocked through that.
What are some of the stuff you get medals for doing? Like, you got a bronze for. Well, that was a kill streak one?
You can get medals for everything from combat to driving. You even get medals for using the social system. We've got an item called Fast Talk in the game, which, much like the counter system, where there's you saw there's sort of a Y icon flash. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody, we wanted it to feel a bit like those moments in an undercover cop movie, like let's say Donnie Brasco, where he has to think in a split second what to say.
Yeah.
So, for example, the medal system for that, anytime there's a fast talk opportunity, if you execute it well, Wei will think on his feet quickly, say something clever, get out of that situation, and we've really tried to put medals around mechanics, things like that as well.
So is this the last round, or is this round 5? 5 or 6?
I'm not sure.
This is 6.
6? Wow, you tore through these guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Johnny right now may be the best Sleeping Dogs player in the world.
Yeah.
Which will probably change next week. So, although that's a bit of a throwdown for Johnny. We'll have to see how he reacts to the pressure.
You spoke about the social system before, and actually people around the office know I've been playing it, but somebody started playing online. And they're like, are you playing online? No. Well, those little icons that pop up, your buddy's scores show up in there.
Yes.
And he's like, it totally changes the game.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned it before when you were talking about multiplayer, but it has been commented on already, by some of the 1UP guys, I believe.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to be playing along and be like, doing your own thing, and then you're still like, oh my God, Dustin just took over my score, and you kind of lose track for a second.
Yeah.
And
I love stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just, and for anybody who's been playing the game, Johnny is Hawkeye, so he's the guy who has the lead on all the leaderboards. So, yeah, he's the guy who you can take out next week.
Right here, he's doing a face mission?
Yeah, he's doing a face mission that's scored for face points. So this is a favor. Guy basically needs you to distract some cops. So Wei here is picking up pop cans and basically throwing them at cops. And then the top.
Is that it?
No,
he
reverse the
got out of
cops, which is kind of cool, being able to reverse the cops.
That was close.
So you can see here, this has sort of spawned a chase where Wei's now being chased by these cops. He's even running back through the Fight Club area, right where you see these guys fighting. So the thing I think that's cool here is the variety of gameplay. Some of these missions are not so serious; they're kind of funny, and the fact that Wei's actually throwing pop cans at cops as a cop is kind of cool. But also just the density of gameplay, right? There's a number of things to do just on a single block. So yeah, it's going to be rare that you're going to get bored playing Sleeping Dogs. It's just a lot to do.
Kofi's question is a little bit different. He asks us if there's any content that had to be changed to release in other countries due to their graphic nature.
Yes, Kofi, there was. Some of the violence in the cutscenes are quite graphic in some instances. Dustin, you'll know there's a scene where Wei is kind of worked over that's pretty graphic. So we needed to modify those a little bit. And that's probably the biggest thing, was just those cutscenes. Some of the combat props, actually, I believe in some countries also had to be changed. We saw that table saw. Some countries weren't a big fan of that.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
What does he do? Does he like bake him a sundae in those countries? You know, like, here you go. Oh, I'm defeated by your kindness.
He just puts his arm around
Kill him
him
with kindness.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Squeezes his nose. So we removed those props from the game, or we replaced them with another less violent prop.
Lot more headlocks and
A lot more
movies.
headlocks and noogies and pantsing of your opponents. Yeah.
I kind of want to play that game.
Yeah. Yeah. We wanted to have a story that, like I mentioned before, felt like a Martin Scorsese crime movie, or felt like a Johnny Toe movie, or felt like an HBO series, Johnny's Action Hijacking one car to another. And to do that, we wanted to make the cutscenes pretty, true to what those stories are all about. So, yeah, and in Triad Election 2, to get, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but to get these guys to talk, Triad boss grinds one guy up on a meat grinder and feeds him to dogs in front of these guys who he's got held captive, and believe me, they talk after that.
Yeah.
So these movies are, these are adult films, and we wanted to get that into the game.
No, the Action Hijack, like, it makes any car you see kind of a temptation to steal. Like,
It totally does.
yeah, you're driving a piece of crap taxi or something like that. You see a Lamborghini driving around. You're kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna, jump out of my car and get in there.
Yeah,
and then maybe you see a better car than that one, driving. You do it again.
Yeah, and kind of in an inverse example of that, Johnny's hijacked like a minivan here from an exotic car.
Yeah.
Which is sort of weird. But yes, exactly as you were saying. And the mechanic also plays into chase missions as well. So you can be hunting somebody down on a motorbike and actually have to hijack their car. There's even a humorous mission with Winston's fiance where you have to hijack a
Cake truck.
cake truck,
Yeah.
a truck carrying a wedding cake. So
Wait, I have something for you.
this is Inspector Jane Tang, played by Kelly Hu, who people probably know, most familiar with from the X-Men. X2, she plays Lady Deathstrike in that movie.
That movie's so good.
Yeah,
That's the best one.
It's a great film, and Kelly was great in it, and she actually was totally amazing for us. She not only did facial capture and voice capture, but actually did the performance capture as well. So got into the mocap suit and did Tang's mocap. So she was great to work with. She's
We were
giving
like,
away.
so you're like, we need you to sit at a desk and shuffle some papers for the smoke.
Yeah. She didn't have the most exciting mocap role. It wasn't as taxing as her role in X2, where she fights Hugh Jackman. But
Yeah.
she was still great. So she's actually given away a lead here. So this is the beginning of a cop-focused mission. One of our 4 cases. So again, just mixes up the gameplay a bit, and it's a chance for Wei to kind of do something different that's not all about hustling somebody or hurting somebody.
Yeah.
Javi is wondering if you can use your weapons freely or only at certain times.
Yeah, you can use your weapons freely. Wei can stow a handgun and use that at any point in the open world or in any of the missions or side content. You can also carry around a melee weapon with you throughout the game and use that, but because those will break during use, it is useful for a certain period of time. But absolutely, if you want to take a cleaver from a vendor as you're chasing somebody and then use that cleaver at the fight at the end of the chase, absolutely.
What are examples of some of the side games that you have in the game? I know there's one that involves 2 chickens.
Yes, it's cockfighting. Cockfighting, where there's all kinds of jokes to be made.
Oh, right there.
There you go, cockfighting. So, yes, there's even a tell, which I told Johnny earlier this week.
Oh, really?
If you find that tell, you will almost always have the winning cock. Yes. So anyhow, yeah.
Just jump in the water. You'll get there.
Yeah, you can climb on top of a car and yeah, I think, here you go, into the water.
And you can swim, which is
And you
great.
can swim. Way will
Yeah.
not, he will not die if he hits the water. So yeah, you can swim, and Johnny's heading over to the cockfight now. So this is just a way to earn a little extra cash, have a little extra fun. Some great dialogue from these guys who are the cock handlers.
In addition to the cockfighting, there's also some games, a type of poker.
Yes, mahjong. We don't have like a fully functional mahjong game. Some people are like, well, why not? It's like, well, if you understand how complex mahjong is, we could have spent years making that. So our mahjong is more of a poker dice version of mahjong. But yeah, there's.
Okay, hold up. Everybody, which chicken are we betting on? White or the gukhai chicken?
There's just the two choices.
Well, what do you guys think? White or black?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the white bird. What do
Yeah,
you-
I would say white.
All right, I'll take the other one. I'll take the blackbird.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's do this.
This is some intense gameplay coming up.
This is some pretty intense.
So,
Now, anybody who's wondering, you do not control the birds in this sequence.
Did the birds do mocap? Did you teach them some moves?
No, we did
and
have a
them
bug.
individually.
We did not put chickens in mocap suits. We did actually have a bug during development because the chickens were registering in the system as characters.
Blackbird.
We were having the system pick up chickens and put them in vehicles as drivers. So you'd be driving along and there'd be like a chicken driving a motorbike or a chicken driving a double-decker bus filled with people.
My bird won. I just want to point that out.
It did win. It's true.
Well done, well done.
We missed the tell.
See, he's dancing around.
If
He's
Wesley
having a good
Snipes was
time.
here, he'd say always bet on black.
So you were talking about chickens driving cars. Can we expect DLC in the near future for?
I shouldn't talk too much about DLC right now, but
Come on, Destin. You know better.
I'm just not.
I want to
gonna
drive
say-
as a chicken.
I'm not
What?
going to say anything. Yeah,
Perhaps an outfit.
the chicken driving DLC, maybe.
All right, what do you guys want to do next?
Well,
Johnny, you want to jack a boat?
we could maybe show you guys a mission called Final Kill. Johnny, what do you think? Yeah, Johnny's nodding.
Yes.
Okay, let's. So we're gonna
Final kill, no stat bumps, right?
No stat bump?
Yeah.
Final Kill with no stat bumps, and we won't show you the last cutscene in Final Kill. Again, a bit of a spoiler there.
J-Song is wondering if there are multiple difficulty settings.
There are not multiple difficulty settings, although the difficulty does scale as you go through the game. You'll encounter harder mini-bosses, more varied mix of enemies. Those guys will not only be more difficult, but they'll have melee weapons, which makes them more difficult. So we wanted it to be not impossible to progress through the game on sort of the one difficulty setting we had, but also challenging.
So what's this mission all about? Like, what's happening?
So you can see Johnny's got a pretty empty garage, so he is actually using no upgrades at this point. But the setup for this mission is it's about halfway through the game, and things have started to kind of go sideways on Way. He started to lose his grip on whether he's working for the cops or whether he's working for the triads, and as a result of things kind of going sideways, Mrs. Chu.
What you been cooking? That's
I'm
It looks
not
delicious.
gonna say. I'm not gonna say.
sure.
It's not the chickens you saw. Yeah. So
just making a nice dinner for a family.
yeah. So
Or
she's
somebody else.
or maybe of somebody else. So she's asking Wei to go find somebody and bring him back to her. Somebody who she blames for something. So you're going to see a variety of different gameplay types in this mission, which in a lot of our story missions we've tried to string these things together to make it feel more like you're a modern day action hero. This one starts with a drive and then gets into a boat chase, a huge melee fight, and then ends with a rail shooter. So yeah, a lot of different things you're about to see here.
Jacob has a really good question. What is the significance of the game's title?
Sleeping Dogs comes from the expression "let sleeping dogs lie," which is I just talked about Wei sort of losing his bearings, losing his grip, and actually going a bit further than he should. And that's really what it references, is, you know, the danger of being an undercover cop is kind of inherent to the job, but if, you know, within that you decide to kind of push it and go further, you're really risking more than you would otherwise being. And that's really what Wei does. His personal connections to these people and his personal history really make him go further than he should.
Mm-hmm.
So we're headed down towards the waterfront here.
Little action jump.
Little action jump. Yeah, there's a variety of jumps in the woods. You can use them to get away from cops. If you're good like Johnny, you don't have to show us this now, but you can also jump off the hoods of most vehicles on your motorbike and get some good distance, which anybody who's competing in the stat games is a good thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the guy who Wei is after right now is Dog Eyes. It's interesting. In Hong Kong, there's a very honest part of the culture is the honesty. So they kind of call you what you look like. We had a couple of our devs go over to Hong Kong on a trip. One guy was getting married, and the family who he stayed with, the family actually called them by, like, you were the most fat, you were the second. So there's just a lot of the names in the game, whether it's Broken Nose Jang, actually come from the characteristics of the character. It's just part of the culture.
What would our names be? Leave your comments below. The live stream. No, wait, don't.
Or don't.
Maybe don't.
Actually, maybe not.
Yeah.
I'm being fed some information here, Jeff. Apparently, it's your birthday tomorrow.
Oh.
Is this correct? Is this accurate?
Yeah, it is correct.
Happy early birthday, then.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
happy
much.
birthday.
I'll tell you, the best birthday present is the fact that this game is coming out. And,
Yeah. How long have you been working on this game?
I've been working on it for almost 5 years.
Yeah, because obviously it's, this used to be True Crime Hong Kong.
Yeah, and it didn't start as True Crime Hong Kong. It started as an original IP back in '07, and then the True Crime brand was slapped on it, and because we were an undercover cop, and there was melee in it, I guess. And to be honest, guys, we weren't super thrilled about that. But I gotta say, water under the bridge. We're really glad we got to finish the game with Square Enix and kind of bring it back to what the original vision was. And honestly, that's the best birthday present I could ever have imagined.
Yeah, it must be really exciting to finally be getting it out there, and everyone that's in the office has been playing it, has been really enjoying it. I think.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the game. Stuff that people haven't seen before, particularly in an open world game. And it's if you don't want to do all the sandbox stuff, if you just want to play through the story, I think people who love HBO stuff will love just the story thread in itself. So there's a lot of good things in it. Mm. So yeah.
I remember this mission now.
Yes.
Some cool stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah. So there's some great combat props in here that you're about to see. So the Dog Eyes chase is ended in a fish sort of processing plant / market. It wouldn't be an homage to Hong Kong cinema if there wasn't a fight in like a fish market here. So there's a combat fish there on the floor here, which now Johnny is using to both throw at enemies and smack them with. The fish is an interesting weapon because you can only do sort of a heavy attack with it. So by the time you've wound up with that fish, the enemy could also have hit you. So it's a bit of a risk-reward thing with that. This is an electric eel, electric eel tank here. So like I said, you're about to see some pretty vicious kills in this fish processing plant.
Continuing to chase the Dog Eyes, it's just some more thugs that get here.
Exactly, yeah. So these are kind of his guys. This is sort of his headquarters, if you just want to call it that. And these guys all work for him. So this is really the culmination of the thread or the storyline in the game about Dog Eyes and working with Dog Eyes or fighting Dog Eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah.
No. The knife stuff is pretty visceral. Like you have one where you just stab
it's
it,
super visceral,
and then you'll leave it there, and he'll just hold it and die.
I think the Filipino martial art of Seok Kali, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is sort of a knife-based martial art.
What
this is gonna hurt.
That's pretty great.
Safety standards in this fish plants need to be looked at. The Seok Kali is some great knife fighting moves. We mocapped a couple of guys who knew how to do that and have put those moves in the game. The knife fighting tree is not an overly deep tree, but at least anybody who's familiar with that martial art will recognize those moves.
Those hooks.
Oh boy, this is oh no.
Yeah. You know, one of the
That
things
guy needs a doctor.
one of the things we did take out during development, it was just a bit too much. Is at one point you could actually hang 3 guys on a single hook. Yeah. So.
And you know, bringing that up, I'm glad you actually thought like, hey, this is too far, because some games lately, like they just go all the way. With
Well,
the violence.
I think there's a fine line here between kind of revenge and action and it becoming almost horror-esque. So yeah, we did tone a few things down. So yeah, this is a brief interlude here where there's going to be sort of a story point that harkens back to the relationship these guys have had. I mean, these guys have known each other since they were kids, so this is, like I said, the culmination of a long story thread. But again, only halfway through the game, which kind of gives you a sense of the size of the game.
Those are gigantic fish, by the way.
They are sort of tuna or sunset fish.
Get me in the mood for sushi for dinner.
Yeah.
So this is sort of Dog Eyes here making a plea to Wei, saying, hey, listen, we shouldn't be fighting. We're in the same triad, but I can cut you in on some deals. I can even, get you in with my boss. He's more powerful than your boss. And Wei just isn't really having any of it.
Well, viewers, we are halfway through with our Sleeping Dogs live stream today. We still have an hour to go. We're going to be playing the game for you for a whole other hour. If you have any questions, just tweet us at IGN. Alex did. Alex asks if you can lose cop points during free roam areas or only during missions.
Most of it is during missions, but there's enough cop missions around the world that you're going to have plenty of opportunities to both gain and lose those points.
I actually have a question playing the game. I've been having trouble getting my triads level.
Please tweet your question at IGN.
So you can get triad points in the main missions indicated by a green shield. Is there anywhere else you can do that, or are they tied to the main mission?
So the triad points, the red triangles mission. Yes, so you can get those in the drug boss, depending on how you want to fight those. There's also a number of lock boxes that are guarded by triad guys just hanging out. So there's plenty of opportunities to increase your triad score and your cop score out of the main mission thread, and that's the same for the favors, the face point missions. So we have a really robust upgrade tree, which we'll look at some point during the playthrough. And an upgraded way is a very powerful way, where we are again at the swordfish heads.
Are these bins of like fish guts?
These are bins of like fish guts, which would be a terrible way to drown, I think.
Pretty awful.
Let's throw a guy in there just for.
Yeah, it's kind of good measure.
I would not. Oh goodness, I would not enjoy that.
I think I would personally, I don't know, whatever was fastest, I'd probably be the swordfish thing would be the way to go for me.
So Wei Shen's come in here. He's killed about 20 guys already. He's throwing people on swordfish and on hooks. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm good. I'm out of the gang. You just whatever you're doing here, I don't care.
Yeah, I know. I think it's and sometimes, especially when Wei's got his combat meter activated, you'll see enemies run away or cower, before they kind of regain their composure. So it's one of those things you see in a Hong Kong action movie where it's not usually one-on-one like in often a Western movie. It's one against many, right? And you'll actually see the guys cower in front of Donnie Yen or Jet Li and go, oh my God, I don't know if I actually want to fight this guy anymore because he's kicking ass. So it's the same thing with Wei. So Johnny's actually been pretty successful here against Dog Eyes, who's armed with a cleaver. And yeah, so he's throwing
kick him on the ground tactic.
A few shots for good measure. And he may even run Dog Eyes into a wall here just because
because you can.
Because you can, and because they have history. All right, Johnny. So along the way to the fish plant, Wei called one of his gang, one of the guys who now works for him, and said, hey, listen, I'm gonna need a pickup. So you saw him put Dog Eyes in the trunk here, which you can do to any NPC in the open world as well. And anybody who's wondering, yes, you can then drive that car into the water. That's what you so choose to do.
I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, there you go. You can hear them banging on them. Anyway, I'll stop. So this is the beginning of the final slice of this mission, which is, again, mixing it up even more. This is a rail shooter that you're about to see here. So in the rail shooter, you can shoot out tires and cause cars to flip, hit the gas tank. As the car's flipping, it will explode instantly. You can actually shoot guys out of the cars. They will fall out of the doors. Same sort of thing with the motorcycles that are chasing you.
Now, this is an example of on rails, like you said, but you can also kind of do this when you're just in a car by yourself.
Totally, yeah. If you do happen to have a submachine gun, nice shot, Johnny. If you happen to have a submachine gun, you can definitely drive and shoot at the same time. We wanted it to feel super, super easy. And actually, the goal was to be the open world game with the best driving and shooting controls out there. And which some people say, well, that might not be that hard of a thing to do, but we actually wanted to go further than that and make it feel fantastic. I think we've succeeded. Not just the rail shooting feels good, but the actual driving and shooting, whether you're on a motorbike or whether you're in a car, it feels really seamless, really easy. The slow-mo really helps you with aiming and driving at the same time. Whoa.
Do you think these gangs get like a group discount rate on Geico Insurance or something? Because that's like 30 cars.
I don't think their track record is that good. I'm not sure Geico would give them a break. So you see we're trying to just include some action moments here, hitting a jump. And heading back into North Point and the Golden Boy restaurant to deliver Dog Eyes.
Plasma Monkey is wondering how many different vehicles are drivable.
There are about 70 vehicles in the game. All are drivable, so anything that you see on the streets you can drive. It's a minibus or a double-decker bus. We've got a car crash here.
Any like helicopters, planes?
There's no flying vehicles in the game. It just didn't make sense, given that Way's an undercover cop, for him to be piloting an Apache helicopter.
Yeah.
We wanted to sort of keep that realism of the story, but also because we invested so heavily in the on-foot aspects, the chasing and the melee, we didn't feel like we needed to have flying. Maybe if we do something down the road. So we skipped that cutscene, but what we're seeing here is just Way dealing with the stress of what he's done. Throughout the game, you'll actually see Way in his safe house kind of reflect on what has happened and deal with the stress of that. It's something that you saw in The Departed or in Infernal Affairs with Tony Leung. I mean, his character looks like crap all the time. He's sweating, and you know, Way's idle animations do begin to change as the game goes on. You see him get more stressed and just dealing with the situation and the stress of it.
So this was never supposed to be a true crime at all.
Not originally, not at all. Yeah.
So I wonder what were some of your influences then to make this?
Well, we brought together a group of guys from all over at UFG. We brought together Mike Scooper, our design director. I mentioned it was from Rockstar and Bully. We brought together guys from Need for Speed, Skate, Godfather. Guys from Radical Entertainment in Vancouver who had worked on Prototype, Scarface, Hulk Ultimate Destruction. So we had a team assembled.
It's a good game.
It is a great game. Great game. There's not, hitting somebody with a telephone pole as the Hulk. Pretty awesome. We had a really, really skilled team. And I think when we sat down and talked about the core of the game that Mike really wanted to build and that we thought would be something different was a fighting-based open-world game, which really hadn't been done before at that point, at least in an urban genre where you can drive and fight and shoot. And that's really where the decision to put it in Hong Kong came from. Was that there aren't too many cities in the world where you can have a cop who fights and have it be realistic. If you were a cop, there you go.
I've never done that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, take your car to a street fight. If you were a cop in Chicago or some American city and you decided to use your fists and not your gun, I don't think you'd last that long. But because of Hong Kong and the very true to life fact that guns are more rare there, it just allows us to have a realistic or somewhat realistic story. So these guys are working Johnny over here, but I think he's going to take them out. So again, this is a drug bust on one of the North Point streets. Maybe after this, Johnny, we could do Bam Bam Club, or we could do Buried Alive. I don't know.
Buried Alive has a big thing at the end, though.
Well, we won't maybe show the end of Buried Alive, but if you want to do that, whatever you think, Dustin, make for.
Let's do the cake delivery, and
Okay.
because I believe it actually establishes a lot of the character relationship in the game.
Let's do it. Bride to be.
Mike is wondering when the IGN review goes live. That will be on Tuesday when the game is out, and also when all of our guide and walkthrough stuff goes live too.
Yep. Yeah. Now it's a silly mission. It's one of the goofier ones, I believe.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was the first time that I saw the characters really interacting and like really made you care about everybody that you've been playing with. Like they're not just thoughtless thugs.
This is a mission, actually, like you're saying, where you get to kind of talk to somebody who is around these guys who Wei spends time with when they're not kind of animals, when they're not criminals. It's you're gonna go on a ride with Winston's wife-to-be, Peggy, and she talks about Winston, you know, how she met Winston, why she loves him. She talks about Mrs. Chu, his mom, and you know what she's really like as a mother-in-law. And we wanted to do this because, you know, if you watch any of the shows that have been on the air with cops and criminals, you realize that the cops they have bad sides and the criminals have good sides, and there are people who love them both. And so we wanted to put this in here, and even though the setup is sort of silly that you're taking Peggy around doing errands for the wedding, it's Winston phones you and says, listen, Wei, it's not going to be the most fun day in your life, but I need you to take Peggy. I need you to do this stuff for the wedding.
Yeah.
You're going to help me out here, right?
And I think it gives you a little insight into like Wei.
It does, because, you know, Peggy, through the mission kind of says, well, you know, do you have a girlfriend? Do you think, and he says, listen, I don't think it would be right for somebody in my life right now. She's like, oh, listen, I can set you up, and, you know, talks to Wei about his mother and his sister.
Yeah.
So you get some insight into that and how that's affected him. And, you know, I think one of the interesting things, as you're saying, is that Wei in this mission is not kind of acting as tough as he usually does with Winston and these guys. So you do get to see a different side of Wei.
Who's the actress who played the girlfriend? Do you remember?
Peggy. You know what?
It's not like one of the famous.
I don't know if it's
really famous
Stephanie
people.
Song. I'm sorry, I can't remember right now.
Okay.
The primary cast who plays the characters in the NIS has, I think we have 30 or 35 characters, the main characters. And even though I, worked on the cutscenes many long hours, I just can't remember her name right now. I'm sorry.
Derek is wondering if there are different endings.
There are not different endings. We had a particular story we wanted to tell, and I think for to do a really great branching story and have a variety of endings, I think we wanted to invest in other areas. We wanted to spend our time with the action mechanics, with the city and the things you could do in the city, and that didn't feel as important to us, at least this time.
One day, I was having a problem with Winston.
Now, he's driving on the highway. One of your badges is like not smashing into a car every 18 seconds, which seems to be my average, actually.
Clean drive, yes.
Yeah.
So the Clean Drive award, which you can challenge your friends with as well. Once you get going a certain speed, we begin to clock you not hitting stuff. So you can see here Peggy also has a mood meter on the left. So if you drive like a maniac and you piss her off, pretty much mission is over. So you're incentivized to get there quickly, but also not drive like a maniac. And this is also where some of that sort of expository dialogue that you talked about comes in. So
this is the exact portion that I was kind of discussing before, actually.
You do a number of missions with Peggy, with Winston, with Jackie, and with all the characters you meet in the game, where you find out a lot about Wei and just about the criminal kind of underworld. And again, as I said, how these characters are, they might do bad things, but they're maybe not bad people.
I'm here to finalize the details.
So you can see in this cutscene, or you just saw, there's a melee statue there on the counter. So if Wei were to come back at a different point, he could pick up that statue and take that to a dojo and actually redeem that for a new move and upgrade his combat moves.
Actually, there is.
So the Hong Kong weddings are a big deal, and part of the mission here, Peggy's describing the black orchid, which is supposed to signify that the couple will stay together forever. And the salesperson at the stop is saying this black orchids are incredibly hard to come by. The only place in Hong Kong that actually has these is the monastery in North Point. So this was an opportunity for us to actually begin to play a little bit with the way in kind of a typical Hong Kong cinema thing and fight some Shaolin monks.
Yeah.
So we'll see where things go from here.
A black orchid at a wedding guarantees that the couple stays together for the
I picked
rest
like the
of their
slowest
lives.
paced mission I possibly could. What do you want to see? Do you want to see us
Wanna see
jumping
a girl
out of
try on her
cars,
wedding
or-
dress?
I'm like, oh, do the chicken fights. do the one where he picks up the cake.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I guess
Talking about feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that though, because I think the thing is that everybody knows that Sleeping Dogs has a lot of action in it, right? But there's a lot of character stuff, and there's a lot to do in the game as well. And I think the thing is, if you do any game and all you're doing, you know, especially a game that's as long as this, the same thing over and over again, you're gonna get bored. So we did try to mix it up. We did try to make you care about the characters. And yeah, I think this mission is a perfect example. There's also Bad Luck, which takes place later in the game, where you mess with that guy's feng shui. So, you know, which is again more of a flavorful mission with a bit of comedy in it. So we definitely tried to do some different things.
Kill AJ asked if you can talk more about car customization.
Sure. We would have liked to have done more, I guess, is the first thing, but I'll tell you what there is to do. First of all, you can customize your cars or choose your car's paint. With the cars that you start off in the game with, there's only a couple of options, but then as you get more and more exotics and more tuners in your garage, there are more options for those. And those are all custom designed by Neil Ambler, our lead vehicle artist, who worked on Need for Speed for a number of years. Just to do a quick commentary on what we're seeing here. Johnny, playing his way, is chasing down this cake van. Peggy has realized that this van has her wedding cake, and she has gone from being quite lovely to being a bit of a bridezilla here. But so the other thing to note about the cars is, of the 70 or so vehicles, not all are cars. Some are boats, some are bikes, but all the cars feel different, especially the sports cars. Again, our vehicle team, having worked on Need for Speed, really tuned these things up. So even among the exotics, each car feels different. We talked about that earlier, and kind of what our favorite cars in the game are.
Don't worry.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us for Sleeping Dogs, the open world action game, we're helping her get her cake in time for her wedding, any
right.
means necessary.
You see, Wei is.
I'm really worried she's not going to get her cake or orchids.
You know, you're very sensitive, very sensitive, and yeah, like I said, it's, you know, the game is all kinds of stuff in it. So what you're doing here, you've hijacked the cake van, you're taking it back to the place where the cake will be picked up by one of the other gang members.
And was somebody stealing the cake, or why did we have to hijack the van?
So
And he throws her out.
yeah, actually she jumps out. She jumps out. He didn't throw the woman out of the van.
I like how you're like, whoa, no, he doesn't do that.
No. So the setup for this is his boss, Winston, who's the guy's getting married. The war between he and Dog Eyes, who are basically fighting for control of sort of North Point as sub-bosses within the Sun On Yi triad. They're at each other by any means necessary. Sometimes it's overt violence, sometimes Dog Eyes is just trying to mess with Winston's kind of karma, and I believe in the story it's actually Dog Eyes who's just paid somebody to hijack the wedding cake. So it's just like I'm just messing with the guy who I hate the most in the world, and I'm gonna piss off his wife, which is anybody who's in a long-term relationship knows. You want to be unhappy, piss off the guy's wife.
Do you have any family?
Yeah, we're going to get to see the combat with the Shaolin monks that we were discussing.
That's right.
In just a second.
You know, we had to tone these guys down. Our combat designers were like, well, they're Shaolin monks, right?
Yeah.
They should be at least Wei's equal, if not better than Wei. So myself and the production team, as we were playing through the game, we were like, okay, final decision. Somebody has tone down these monks, we were getting our butts kicked. And we would just end up running out of the monastery because we couldn't beat these guys.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we'll see in a DLC. It's sort of a Shaolin monk
Yeah.
throwdown. We'll
In
see.
chicken suits.
And Wei can fight them in a chicken suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Confirmed on IGN.com.
Exclusive. Yeah. So again, just a nod to Hong Kong cinema, and there's always a bit of kind of cheeky action in those films. A lot of them don't take themselves too seriously. And although some of our missions, especially later in the game, are really serious, this is again one of the more flavorful missions. So you can see Wei here is sneaking into this temple. It's night.
And you actually get your first costume.
You get your
unlocked.
first unlocked costume. So the Shaolin monks at this temple, we're going to show the fast talk piece here, I think, that I mentioned earlier.
Yep. And you could play like this the rest of the game if you wanted to.
If you want to wear the Shaolin monk thing through the rest of the game, totally.
Nobody thinks it's weird.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy's tough. I better not mess with him.
Exactly. Anybody who has
When energy flows,
the cojones to pull this off, go for it, yeah.
I like what he says here. He's just like, I'm here in flowers, and he's like, oh yes, you're very right. I agree. Go ahead.
I'm one with the universe.
Yeah.
Will Yun Lee, who plays Wei, and who was amazing to work with, and who worked so hard for us. Because Wei has so much dialogue in the game, there's so much gameplay. He did a fantastic job, because if you're playing this game, you are Wei. You spend so much time listening to him. There's so much story.
Yeah.
You really never get tired of hearing his story or hearing his voice. And he does a great job of being both a tough guy and being kind of sympathetic. And Will just got a huge part as one of the main bad guys in the Wolverine, which I believe has just started shooting in Australia and Japan. So really stoked for Will.
Yeah, and like this is like in the middle of a city, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw the
It's
skyscrapers.
such a different
around.
setting.
Yeah, and that's the neat thing about Hong Kong. The city itself, you'll be driving along, and we did this during our trip. You're driving along, and then squeezed between these two skyscrapers that are like 100 stories tall is this like one-story red temple that's like a couple hundred years old. You stop and you get out and kind of walk through. Now, we've exaggerated the size of this temple. I believe that there is a temple of this size on an island nearby the real Hong Kong, which should have inspired us to put this one actually in our version of Hong Kong. Johnny is managing to hold his own against these monks, but I can tell you, if we hadn't tuned down the difficulty...
You can't grapple them, and they do counter you.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
The other thing you'll notice about this is these monks are doing different styles of kung fu.
Oh, wow.
They actually, see, we've got guys actually doing, we've got, I think, a snake style, a monkey style in here. Quick fact that I'm super proud of is that we had Ray Park, who was Snake Eyes, and Darth Maul do some mocap for us. Ray's an amazing martial artist, everybody knows here. And he was one of the people whose mocap, I think, made it in for some of these monks.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So even on a goofy mission like this, all these subtle touches, like different combat styles, and this guy's combat style is not so good though. The ringing the bell combat style. Yeah.
He was like ringing the bell to alert these monks to your presence, and
Hey, what's
Johnny
up? We should punch.
Wade just had no mercy.
That guy's
Johnny
just
had no
doing his
mercy.
job, and Johnny is just like, nope.
Johnny's
taking him out for no
gonna
reason.
Add insult to injury here, and I think he used the gong against as the gong combat prop.
If he can grapple any of these guys.
Yes, they are almost ungrappleable unless you really get their health down. Speaking of health down, this might be the mission where Johnny owes everybody $5.
That might be tough to live down. So what mission did you die on again? The one with the cake?
The one with the cake? The wedding cake mission? Oh, he's activated his face combat meter, so he's recharging his...
All right.
He's just letting us... yeah, there you go. He's just letting us get our hopes up here.
So do you feel this is more difficult than most of the combat missions? Johnny?
It is
Yeah.
tough.
He said it is,
tough.
yeah.
I think that's kind of cool, in that you're doing this mission, and it's like, okay, you know, this is pretty easy. It's a bit more of a flavor mission, and then at the end you fight these guys, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
Rick asks if the main character has relationship options throughout the story.
He totally does. There are 4 dateable girls in the story, and you meet these characters as part of the main story flow. You can unlock dates with them, and then if you're successful on the date, that unlocks the ability to see things on the mini-map that you wouldn't normally be able to see. Exactly. Hell shrines, melee collectibles. The girls you can date.
What do you think about this?
You can date Emma Stone, which I already mentioned.
Emma, if you're watching, it is his birthday coming up.
Hey, give me a call. Yunjin Kim from Lost.
Thank you.
Korean-born actress. We actually recorded Yunjin in Seoul, where she is just an absolute superstar. You can date her. She plays Tiffany. Celia Jade, who anybody who's familiar with kind of Hong Kong cinema knows that name. She's a young, very, very beautiful and super talented. Actually does her own TED Talk. Upcoming Hong Kong film star. She plays Not Ping.
Oh, okay.
And Not Ping is an interesting character because she actually finds out that Wei's kind of dating all these other girls, and then she starts calling him, and she's like quite insecure, and then she kind of goes a little.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So but yeah.
Apparently,
so,
Dustin didn't pursue any.
I just got the collectibles. I got what I needed.
Yeah.
What do you do on dates?
So it depends on the girl. You know, Emma Stone's character, Amanda, is an American exchange, or she's not an American exchange student. She's an American student who's finished her degree and come to Hong Kong to kind of find herself. She's writing a blog, so Wei takes her around and does sort of some photography for her. But then some of the other girls, like you meet this Russian hostess who is into like fitness, and you basically have to race her across the rooftops of Soho, Ileana. So yeah, different things depending on the girl. You can see your cop and you try and experience their. We might level up here.
Good, we can show the level up
right on.
system.
Cool. And one of the other things, Johnny, when we're through this, just maybe we can show the bios really quickly that you get. So these reports, at the end of a lot of the missions, you're going to get a folio or a report. This is similar to the BioShock tapes or what they do in Batman, where they just kind of expand the story a little bit. Mm-hmm. What you've got here is you get psychological profile reports on Wei, or you know, updates on Dog Eye. So this kind of gives you some background into what happened before the game started. It also kind of expands the world a little bit. Anyway, this is just a neat little bit of extra content that we've got in there. You find out that. Yeah, anyway, sort of why Wei is here, and even beyond the ending of the game, you get some additional information.
Are you able to show the upgrade screen, or
Yeah,
did he not get the upgrade there?
Johnny's like, I don't need upgrades.
Yeah.
I've got the debug. I don't need upgrades. So very quickly, at the top of the screen here with the LB and the RB here on 360, you're scrolling through your cop upgrades, first of all, which are all based around shooting and driving.
And you get those through the shields, obviously.
Exactly.
As you do missions, you see in the lower left that stuff going on the screen.
Exactly. Now, and as I said, investigative cases, drug busts will also increase your cop points. So if you get a low cop score in missions, there's plenty of opportunities to gain those points. Your triad upgrades here, you get a lot of strike damage bonuses here, as well as there are some moves here that you can unlock. For anybody who saw the live-action trailer that we released way back in February, there's a really cool move where the guy who plays Wei kind of runs up the body of one of the enemies and then shoots him.
Oh.
That's actually an unlockable move here. Mm-hmm. And
is it climbing elbow strike?
No, the climbing elbow strike is actually the Tony Jaa move, where he kind of climbs the guy's upper leg and then comes down and crushes the top of his head with his elbow. So. You saw you've got the, we're on face advance, sorry, melee, Johnny's switching back and forth. Melee training here. These are the statues that Emma Stone's character helps you find on your radar. You bring these back to the dojo, where you get actually to meet Sifu, who kind of unlocks a whole story thread about Wei as a young man and Wei's father and all this kind of stuff. And then the face advantages here, these are gained through favors. And again, face is about respect in Hong Kong. It's actually a real Hong Kong term, meaning how you're socially perceived. And you can see here there's a variety of things from food giving you more benefit, regenerative effect of food lasting longer, to a car valet who will bring you a car anywhere in the world. So if you find yourself, you know what, my car blew up, I'm in the middle of nowhere, that guy will bring you a car. The effective massages lasts longer. The massage parlors around town, that will give you an additional face boost. So yeah, we also have the health upgrades here. We talked about taking your health up to 200% of what you start the game with. So yeah, you normally don't see this kind of thing in an urban open world game, but we felt that you know, it's a long game, and we wanted to be able to update your character and kind of grow his moves and abilities, especially because, you know, martial arts, there's more than enough cool stuff to put in.
Yeah, and the face thing didn't go unnoticed. Some of my coworkers who have family from that area pointed out, like, oh, do you understand what that means? And they explained it to me at work. I was like, oh, wow, that's really fascinating.
It's a really interesting concept, and as I understand it, these are stories that I've heard in Hong Kong that kind of take it to ridiculous extremes. Johnny's redeeming a melee statue here that he found at the temple.
One of your statues.
So these are pieces of the Chinese zodiac, their calendar, and as you return these, Sifu, who's the instructor, Sifu just means basically instructor or master. He will teach you a new move. So yeah, the face piece actually in Hong Kong, people will buy in excess of property, apartments in an apartment block, and not occupy them just to show how rich they are.
Oh, really?
So it'd be like, I'm going to buy, it'd be in North America, it'd be like, I'm going to buy all the houses on this street. I'm not going to live in them, but that's just so you know what, how much of a big shot I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not just how you dress. Stun grapple follow-up. These poor guys at the dojo having to...
That guy's just sick. He's just like asking for help or something, and Johnny's just beating on him. It's like, hey, I don't feel so good. Yeah. Johnny's a violent person, I think.
I would not want to mess with Johnny. Yep, there's a lot going on there under the surface for sure. Johnny should be commended as well. We put out another live action piece earlier this week, which is really, really cool, and Johnny was the man behind that as well. So.
Viewers, we have about 30 minutes left in our Sleeping Dogs live stream. Any questions you have, tweet them at IGN. Chris, has a question. How many different types of weapons are available?
Oh, Chris, that's a tough question to answer because you've got guns, in which there are maybe a dozen different kinds of guns. And then you've got melee weapons. And the thing with melee weapons is, yeah, you've got your knife and your cleaver and your fish, but you can also pick up a lot of other stuff around the world and use it as a weapon. Granny's picking up a crowbar here, tire irons. There's a lot, man, several dozen.
Can you go to your world map once for a second, Johnny? Let's see what we got here. So as you can see, these are just like missions and clothing locations and massage parlors.
Yeah. So as you go through the game, all of this stuff kind of unlocks through progression. There's quite a bit unlocked very early in the game. But before too long, playing through the flow, the map will be filled with just an absolute ton of stuff. So yeah, again, through your 300 and some odd things to do, find, etc. Dustin, I don't know, would you like to...
have we done a face mission yet?
Oh, let's do one.
Yeah.
Let's do one. Johnny just kind of, the car ruined his mojo and jumped there. We're going to do a face mission here, or a favor. And how these favors work is they give you sort of points for respect because you're helping people out. But also, as you gain face, you unlock other characters who are kind of higher up the social standing. Will give you kind of different kinds of favors as well.
Oh, this guy is always a nice guy to talk to.
Calvin's hilarious.
Yeah.
Calvin works in the same triad as you. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Basically says, hey, Wei, I need a hand, and then goes and punches a cop.
Yeah.
And Wei's like, what the hell, man? What are you doing? And Calvin's like, listen, dude, that guy was sleeping with my girlfriend. And Wei's like, your girlfriend? Calvin's like, well, I haven't actually asked her out, and haven't actually talked to her yet, but I want to talk to her. and I think he's sleeping with her. So yeah, it's just there's a lot of pretty serious stuff in the game, especially as the story goes on. I talked about in a way kind of loses his bearings, and things. A lot of the characters who are close to him, are endangered. Some of them die, and so these favor missions are a way for players to kind of keep that sandbox fun, at the forefront of the experience.
So all you have to do right now is get away from the cops.
That's right. That's right. So the favors, most of them are just sort of a single gameplay type. If it's action, it can be take these guys out. We played one where we threw pop cans at cops and had to kind of get out of there. But yeah, it's just sort of a single gameplay type. Calvin's great because throughout the game you keep running into Calvin, and it's sort of he's like, "Hey man, you want to help me out?" And Way's like, "Not this again."
Yeah. You kind of see him and you're like, "Okay, I'm ready."
Yeah, exactly. But then the funny thing is that because he's such a character, he's you just end up doing these things. And the final one with Calvin, I'm not sure if you've done it yet. But it's pretty awesome. His final stunt.
Dave asks if there are different radio stations to listen to in cars.
There are different radio stations. 10-ish radio stations. I can't remember the exact number. We were really, really happy to get some help with from Square, to not only populate these with really great selection.
What radio? That's awesome.
Tracks,
I heard Fear Factory on there and stuff the other day.
Oh, cool.
Listen, a lot of people have asked, are we going to do the soundtrack? Are we going to do iTunes playlists? What are we going to do? Because the soundtrack is actually really good. And there's a mix of stuff on there. And we've got DJs and ads. The cool thing about those is that we've got actually DJs who have a British accent. We've got DJs who have Cantonese accent, speak a bit of Cantonese. So you don't get sucked out of the experience by all of a sudden listening to an American DJ or something.
Now, he's actually going into a karaoke bar right now where you can sing some karaoke songs. Now, I was wondering, could you actually hook up a mic and sing those to beat the missions by any chance?
You cannot.
But I'm a terrible singer. That's okay. Probably for the best.
Maybe if we do the Chicken Soup DLC, we'll put something in there for that as well. But so the karaoke is unlocked through there's only a couple of songs unlocked here. I don't know which do you guys want to say. All Out of Love,
obviously.
He's covered in blood and gore. There's a girl just dancing like nothing's going on.
He's always covered in blood.
And he's singing "I'm All Out of Love."
Yeah, and she's like, "I'm leaving." So yeah, we've got about a dozen or so karaoke songs, which nice minigame here. As the songs get unlocked, the minigame gets progressively harder. So it starts pretty easy. You don't have too much to do, but then by the end of the sort of karaoke minigame, it's pretty challenging.
And this is just another one of the mini games, in the plethora of games.
Thank you very much.
And
it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Not for me. I've been working on a game for.
There you go. Yeah, sure, of course. Excuse us, viewers.
Enjoy the music while we deal with the slight
batteries here.
pickup. Yeah.
That's all it is.
All right. We should be back up here. Kind of fitting that this.
All right, that's enough.
Fitting that this ran out during karaoke.
Yeah. Good timing.
Yeah.
So just so we don't end with you singing "I'm All Out of Love," perhaps we should
please don't.
Do another one of the open world missions. Do you have a suggestion that we haven't seen yet?
Well, we could do Buried Alive. We talked about that.
Okay, that's a pretty good one.
You want to? Is anything else come to mind?
Well, the ones I want to show spoil a lot, and I don't want to do that.
Well, tell me what they are, and if
like the ones near the end, especially like where
the ones at the end.
Like those are the most.
I want to show the last mission in the game.
For Johnny to die in. And but Buried Alive's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's like serious. There's a lot of action, and it also shows that character aspect that I really enjoy.
Okay. I'd love to show a lecture or something like that, but there's just a lot of stuff that gets talked about there.
Yeah. What about Uncle Po?
Yeah, we could do Uncle Po. That's a good one. Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Okay. Have you shown that one before? Like in a trailer or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Uncle Po is kind of a cool one because you've got sort of a bit of a drive with Winston, and a lot of cutscenes in Uncle Po.
Does that end with action though?
Does that end with action?
There's
Yeah,
another
it does
one
end with
later.
action. Yeah, well, it's the driving and shooting.
Okay.
Driving
Cool.
and shooting, which we haven't shown yet. We've shown the rail shooter, but not the driving and shooting.
Do you remember who does the voice acting for Uncle Po?
Yes, James Hong. James Hong from Balls of Fury, from The Day the Earth Stood Still, from, of course, one of my personal favorites, John Carpenter's opus, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
So yeah, we've got lots of, if we do DLC, we've got lots of ideas.
So what have we agreed that you're going to do for DLC? Chicken soup?
Chicken suits.
Uh-huh.
We're going to do some kind of, I don't know, connect something that allows you to sing.
I think everybody says no
And
to
I
that.
think you may have agreed to be the first to do that live on IGN when it's available.
I remember him saying that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Sean is wondering if there are waypoints or other ways to get around the map other than driving from point to point.
Yes, there are. We have a taxi system, so you can go up, hire a taxi, and then teleport to any mission location using that. If you don't want to drive or action hijack your way there by car, you can also use boats to get around.
You're gonna meet Uncle Po.
Now, Uncle Po is a major player in this story.
Uncle Po is the dragon head of the Sun On Yi triad, or the head of the triad. So what's happened here in this mission is the conflict between Winston, who's that guy right there, the boss who Way's working for, and Dog Eyes, who's another sub-boss, has boiled over. And there's been some open warfare, and Uncle Po basically is calling these two guys together and kind of banging their heads together and saying, listen, stop fighting within my triad. The enemy are the 18K, the other triad. Stop being idiots. And so it's like being called to the principal's office here, and pretty terrifying. Poe's obviously, he's an old man at this point, but he is not to be messed with. So we're going to see a cutscene here, again, with Poe played by James Hong, and this was the cool thing about James Hong working with him, is that when he turns on the menace, he is scary. Like, he goes from being like, oh my God, it's James Hong, you know, it's Lo Pan, to being like, I'm more terrified of this old man than I have ever been terrified of anybody. He has he's such a good actor, and yeah, so you definitely get the sense that back in the day, you would not want to have messed with Uncle Po.
And this is really the mission where Wei Shan kind of ends up in both feet in the triad.
Yeah, he does. I mean, you know, this is not that far into the game. It's maybe a third of the way through the game, and what's interesting is, from a story point of view, you know, he's really not been through that much with the triad, and he's being called to meet the Dragonhead, right? The guy who he's supposed to bring down. And you know, his cop handler, Raymond, after this mission, which we probably see, says, wait, what the hell are you doing? You know, you just tore apart half of Hong Kong in one of these missions before this. And Wei says, I just met the Dragonhead.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever had an agent do that before? I am in so deep right now, you have to let me stay under. So this is where that sort of real conflict between the police side of what Wei is supposed to do and the triad side begins to kind of split him.
It becomes a little gray.
Exactly.
Wrong with drugs. He's into prostitution.
Murphy is wondering if you can max your ability trees in one playthrough.
Yeah, you can in one playthrough through the game. You should be able to max your upgrades out. Depending on how aggressively you do secondary content, you can do that earlier in the game, maybe as quickly as half or probably not half, 3/4 of the way, 60% or 70% of the way through the game. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible if you don't want to upgrade your character, you could finish the game. Conceivably, as you said, you have.
Yeah, so I wanted to get all the collectibles separately,
Yep.
so I actually didn't get any of them, and that's really how you get your stat bumps,
Yeah.
aside from the cop points and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. Well, I could have maxed them out one playthrough had I got the collectibles and stuff, but I chose not to.
So this cutscene, you know, Wei has driven Winston to meet Uncle Po, and this guy, Ricky, hanging out outside, is he's sort of an enforcer, higher up in the triad than Wei is right now. He's not a boss like Winston. He's an enforcer like Wei at this point, like Wei, and he's sort of saying, "Well, hope you guys come out of there alive. Have a nice day." So yes, the first time we meet Uncle Po, who's here with Pockmark Chuck, played by Byron Mann, who I mentioned is also Raymond. And this is sort of a big moment. Wei's meeting the dragon head of one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful triad in Hong Kong. And he's sort of saying to Wei, "Oh, you know, I've heard a lot about you. You know, Winston's very lucky to have you. I heard it was your idea to do a certain thing," and Wei sort of defers and says, "No, it was Winston's idea." And Uncle Po says, "Sure it was." So he already at this point kind of gets the sense that Wei is, you know, more than meets the eye. If you're Winston here, I think you'd be sort of sweating bullets.
Yeah, yeah.
In any case, you did well. I want to show you.
Yeah, if Triad Election 2, phenomenal film. If you want to do a little viewing in advance of playing Sleeping Dogs next week, recommend Triad Election 2. Really good film.
Do you need to see Triad Election 1?
You don't. It stands on its own. The characters carry over, as does a bit of the story thread, but it stands on its own as a phenomenal piece.
Is it on Netflix streaming?
I do not know.
I would watch it this weekend if it is.
Yeah. But Uncle Po is reminiscent of some of the dragon heads or the older characters in that film, right down to the way they dress. So yeah, that's sort of where the inspiration for his character comes from.
You mentioned a lot of cinema. Did you just watch all these films for this game specifically?
We did.
Or are you just naturally a fan?
I wasn't as much of a fan as Mike Scooper, our design director, was when we started, and Mike sort of said, "Listen,
Mike's like, you got to watch.
this stack of movies." So it was like, okay,
Blu-rays.
but then you come back from like a night of watching these movies, and you'd be like, "This movie is the movie that inspired this Western movie, this Western movie, this Western movie," and you're just like, "Oh my God, this is where," because these movies, a lot of them came out in the 80s and the 90s, and then they get remade.
Yeah.
I think the best known example of that is The Departed, which is
almost
a shot-for-shot remake of Infernal Affairs, Hong Kong movie.
Departed sat in my DVD player for like a month.
It's such a good movie, man.
It's excellent. Yeah.
So in any case, Mike was the biggest fan to start, and then even as we were finishing up the games, we were still having Hong Kong cinema movie nights where we watched like Young and Dangerous as a team. And we had all these movies sort of available for the team members to kind of take home and watch or watch at work. And we tried to even draw certain things like our art director, Hani, and another one of our art directors, Josh. They looked at like Wong Kar-wai movies just to pick out things like colors and neon and pools of light and dark and use that to influence the game. So there's definitely a variety of Hong Kong cinema influences in there. So Wei is meeting a guy here by the name of Roland Ho, who Po says, "Listen, Wei, you did good. I'm gonna help you out. You go see my friend Roland. He works for me collecting debts."
As an Uzi sitting right next to him.
This is kind of like, don't mess with Roland. Yeah. Roland is, I talked about Ricky kind of as like an enforcer, like Wei, a bit further up the food chain. Roland is like Wei 20 years on, right? He's some guy who used to, be like an enforcer in the triad, and now he's sort of a very trusted sub-boss for Po. So he's saying, "Listen, Wei, I need you to go collect some debts. The first person I need you to collect a debt from is Patsy Wing. She got in over her head, gambling. I want you to go collect this money she owes." So he gives Wei the Uzi, or the Uzi facsimile that's sitting beside him, and says, "Go collect from Patsy." So this actually unlocks debt collection jobs. Another piece of side content in the game. You do a lot of these debt collection jobs actually with Roland. He comes along for the ride with you, and on the drives to and from, you kind of learn more about Roland and his work with Po and the nature of the Sun on Yi.
And to do those, you actually take out your phone.
Yeah, exactly, and you can activate those as you wish through the game.
There's also one with a guy named Tran, I believe.
Tran, who is Jackie's uncle, I believe, part Vietnamese, and he runs a chop shop. So Tran, really, you phone Tran, he's like, Wei, listen, I got a customer asking for this exotic car, go find it. And Wei brings these cars back to Tran, and there's those two, there's also the armored car return jobs. So there's lots of other pieces of side content that are really activated by the player after a certain point in the game. So Wei's basically found Patsy here, and she's kind of taking off with these guys. So this is one of the first missions in the game where you're actually driving and shooting, which I don't think we've seen before. We've seen the rail shooting stuff today. Now what you're going to see here, Johnny's going into slow-mo, and still can control the vehicle. That guy actually falling right out of the car.
He wasn't done with the car, though.
Yeah. Yeah, so he can control the vehicle, he can steer the vehicle, but also shoot at the same time. So this was a major goal for us, like I talked about. Most open world games.
Yeah, this is usually awkward.
It's usually super awkward. Your hands almost kind of cramp, and you're like, this sucks. I hope they don't give me too many missions like this. But
It's still a little difficult, but you don't have to do it that way.
Yes, exactly. And
you get a huge payoff for being able to pull it off, though.
You can do this, nice. You can do this both in a car and on a motorbike. So depending on the mission, you're given a variety of different vehicles to do it in. So this is, we're headed through central Hong Kong here, downtown. We turned off, or turned down, I should say, traffic in this mission, so that makes the gameplay a little easier to do, a little more fun. But you can still see there's a lot of traffic on the streets, a lot of sort of road furniture, so you do have to keep your eyes open. Johnny's doing a great job here.
You said you toned down a few things, like in this mission, traffic, and you said the monks were too difficult. What were some other things where you're just like, we need to adjust this? Did you ever adjust anything up in difficulty? Or?
Yeah,
well, I'm sure you did, but
we did. Some of the things just probably more interesting. Some of the things we turned down, like in this mission, we turned down the traffic. We also even turned down some of the pedestrians on the streets in this mission. The reason for that is we talked about cop score. If there was people crossing sidewalks and all over the streets, in this mission you're kind of like driving super fast through downtown Hong Kong, you would lose a lot of cop score. So we made efforts to kind of adjust that kind of stat through the missions. We wanted the game, somebody asked about difficulty settings earlier, we spent time near the end of production playing through the game over and over and over again, and actually adjusting the difficulty up in some of the later sections of the game. Wow! In some of the later sections of the game, so that the final missions were more challenging. If you try and run through the last couple missions in the game without kind of
it's like poking his head out the door.
Yeah. We're actually headed up towards Victoria Peak here. Without taking out the enemies using the right kind of weapon or something, you're going to have a hard time. So, so again, here you're about to see a woman jump out of a speeding car, which is Wei does not push her out, Dustin. Just so you're clear. She
gets out at 300 miles an hour voluntarily.
But you don't have to drive at 300 miles an hour. So Wei's basically saying, listen, I'm taking you back to Roland Ho. And she says, there's drugs in the trunk, and then she jumps out of the car. So she's so afraid of.
She's okay.
She's okay. She's okay. Nobody was actually hurt in the making of Sleeping Dogs. So we take the car back to Roland, and as I said, this is the first debt collection mission. You saw the trams there, which are a feature of Hong Kong. Unfortunately, not rideable, but just a little nod to the city itself.
Mike asked if there are subtitle options.
There are subtitle options. You can turn subtitles on, so that every piece of spoken dialogue is on screen at all time, or you can turn subtitles off, so that no spoken dialogue, whether it's Cantonese. The game that ships, I believe subtitles are set to Cantonese. So what that means is anytime there is Cantonese dialogue spoken, either as part of a sentence or a full sentence, that will appear on screen.
Damon, how much time do we have left?
Only a few minutes. 5 minutes left.
Let's start the Buried Alive one. Do you think we have time to get into the story enough on that one?
Yeah, let's start it. Johnny can take us there. Buried Alive is a pretty long mission, so we'll skip that check-in with Raymond.
Okay.
Robert asks if you can save at any point.
Yes, you can save at any point in the game. I think the other thing that's worth mentioning is we have a really robust checkpoint system. So if you do die at any point through one of our main missions, you're not going to be booted back to the start of the mission. You know, you might be brought back to the start of the fight or around the corner or something like that. But you know, because there's so much action in the game and not everybody is as good as Johnny or yourself, you're going to die. And
I died plenty.
Yeah, so we didn't want you to get frustrated and be like, God damn this game. We wanted you to be able to feel like a Hong Kong cinema action hero and kind of get right back to it.
I was very thankful for that, because there was a few where I did die pretty frequently.
There
where,
were-
like, I just got stuck and like had to figure out a different way to do things.
Yeah, there are definitely some missions, even earlier on in the game, that we wanted to throw a little bit of challenge at you, and yeah, so it's not easy. So yeah, Johnny is actually, I think, just because we're a little pressed for time here, he's using the a debug cheat of teleportation.
Ah.
Yes, which is not available in the game available next week. So yeah, we're headed down. This is Aberdeen Harbour, which is originally a fishing village in Hong Kong, now home to numerous condos and a very famous Jumbo's restaurant, which we have a version of in the game.
Completely violating protocol.
Now, one thing, tonally, you guys decided to go very serious, it seems. Like, you don't have guys in chicken suits. You don't have goofy radio stations like some of your competition has done. Why did you decide to like go through and through serious tone?
I think that
Well, sorry, there's some lighter ones, but
yeah, listen, that's something the competition does very well. I think that, you know, being funny or being satirical, various games own those things, you know, and I think that there really isn't a game out there that feels like a bit of an HBO show or feels like kind of a more modern action movie that actually has that kind of tone. And we felt like, you know what, that in itself, if we can do that, we'll be unique.
yeah.
That's not to say, like you said, that there isn't humor. There isn't. We talked about Calvin and his stuff, the Flavor and the Bride-to-Be mission. So it's all kind of part of the context of the game. But you know, if you want to go through the mission, flow dressed as a tourist with a straw hat and flowered shirt and blue blocker sunglasses, then
That may be what my character looks like. I think you just
I know
described
that's
my
what your character
yeah.
looks like. Then you can totally do that. So there's ways to kind of to have fun with it, you know, and be creative.
Just a few minutes left here. John asked if there are different types of weather effects, and there are, correct?
There are, yes. You basically there's not too much because, you know, Hong Kong itself is a super a tropical climate. It basically is like hot, very hot, rain, heavy rain. So, you know, it's not like there's snow or sleet or hail or, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, you'll see those weather conditions in Hong Kong. You'll see characters sweat, and some of the bigger characters are actually super sweaty. They're wiping their foreheads and that sort of thing.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, they're fun characters, and see how they react to the temperature is kind of cool. So waves come down here, but because we're jumping around, Johnny's quickly teleporting from place to place, which we should probably stop doing, Johnny. I think we're probably pushing the debug to its limit here. Yeah, things are taking a little while to pop in here just because we're teleporting around for sake of time.
Oh,
There we go with the
that's
song.
some pop in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So the setup here basically is later on in the game. I won't go into details of why, but Jackie's been kidnapped, and they're going to kill him. And Wei basically is racing against time to find Jackie. So this was where Jackie was supposed to be, and it's an ambush basically. Wei probably knew he was walking into an ambush, but he has to find Jackie, and there's no other way to find him, right? The guys who are behind this ambush know where he is, so Wei sort of fights his way through these guys and then gets involved in a chase, and sort of makes his way to Jackie.
Eric is asking if there are any cheats or Easter eggs in the game.
There are cheats. There are some Easter eggs. We'll be telling everybody more about those probably starting next week. I'm sorry, I can't say anything.
No, then they wouldn't be Easter eggs if you told them where they are.
The producer said before the game was released what they were.
Yeah.
This guy, Ziwa, no, this is actually Horseface, sorry, not Ziwa. You can see he moved out of the way of Wei's kick there. Again, one of the mini bosses.
Not the arm break.
Not the arm break.
Yeah.
He can take a bit more damage than the normal character. Has a few more moves. He will jump out of the way of some of Wei's strikes. Again, not a super high-powered character, but a bit more difficult than the average foot soldier.
I think he's confused because his arm has been broken 3 times.
Yeah, most characters, if you inflict that kind of damage on them, that's sort of it. So Wei's supposed to interrogate him here, which is why he figures the most effective way to interrogate him will be
Yeah, the bandsaw
the
that he just
bandsaw.
murdered 3 people with.
Yeah, his friend's blood are like all over it.
Yeah. So he's basically getting this guy to talk, and what he says is, "Listen, Wei, I don't know where Jackie is, but I can tell you who does know where Jackie is." So that's the next part of his flow. Wei goes to track down Ziwa, who is the guy who knows where Jackie is. And
Yeah, this moment is about going to bring us to the end of our Sleeping Dogs live stream today. But thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing the game by.
my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Johnny, for driving the game for us. Johnny never died.
Johnny never died, by
Yeah,
the
he
way.
did not.
That's true.
Yeah.
I got him $5.
Well done, Johnny.
Sleeping Dogs is out on Tuesday, the 14th. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PC.
Yes.
Also. Check back on Tuesday for our review, and all the guide stuff and walkthrough stuff that Destin has put together will all be available right from day one to help you through the game. So, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you. We have a live stream first thing on Monday morning, 10 o'clock our time, Pacific time. 10 a.m. is Darksiders 2. So we'll see you then.